Good morning, everybody. It's Sunday morning, November 6th, I think. I'm going to try not to wobble this too much. I have it on a little tripod, and if I wobble this table too much, it's going to wobble this video. So I'm going to try. Good morning. This is a Sunday morning joy, but I'm also just checking in on what I've been up to. I've not been making these videos regularly just because it hasn't been calling to me. But I've been focused on a lot of other great stuff that I'll tell you about. First, I am writing a book. I'm finishing a book, I should say. I started October 1st and I had around 11,000 words, and now I have 27,000 words. So I'm shooting for 50,000 words by December 1st, and I'm well on my way. I'm very excited that I got the motivation to do this. It's easy and hard for me. It's something that I've created a habit around. So I usually write first thing in the morning, although yesterday morning I didn't because I went and worked at the polls, the election polls. And this morning I'm making this video first, and then I will write. So let's see. So the novel that I'm writing, just very briefly, is called Howard Hoax, A Cautionary Tale. And if you've ever read The Secret Life of Walter Mitty or A Confederacy of Dunces, it's about a man who has delusions about who he is and what his life is like. And he is trying to accomplish an impossible goal that he thinks is very possible. And he sort of uses people along the way to try to reach that goal, but it's humorous because of the way he thinks about himself. And I don't know what the end is yet. So anyway, that's just a little synopsis, but at some point I will read some excerpts. I am working with a coach on this book to just tell me if it's funny and if it makes sense and if I've explained things well enough throughout the book. So I met with her last week now, actually. And once I'm finished with the writing, then I'm going to be working more with her and on tweaking things. Obviously, I want to get more opinions than just hers also, because everybody's going to read it differently, you know. So anyway, I'm super excited. I have this list. Oh, crap. I have this list. Hold on. Let me see if I can go grab it quick. Okay. So I've had this list not for 10 years, but for at least 5 years. Goals for age 50, 2023. So I turned 50 in February. And, you know, I made this list of things that I would like to have accomplished, or just like the state of my life when I turn 50. And so I do this for every major decade. I talked about turning 40 so much before I turned 40 that the person I was dating at the time, I think it was my 38th birthday, and he thought it was my 40th birthday. I'm just really goal sort of accomplishment oriented because it makes me feel good. So, you know, I just made this list of the things that would make me feel good if I had accomplished, or if my life was that way by the time I was 50. So one of them is first full-length book written. So that doesn't mean it has to be published or has to be perfect by my birthday, but by the end of this month, it should be written, completely written. So I'm really excited about that one. And there's a couple other ones that I haven't accomplished, but that there's still the possibility for me to find creative ways to accomplish. So, but a bunch of them are really on track. And so I'm happy about that. Yeah, I've just been saying I was going to write a book forever. And so now I'm really doing it. Proud of myself. So what else is happening? So I have the opportunity for a really exciting collaboration with the 5,000 Hugs Project and the Hugmobile. And I don't want to say too much about it, but the person I'm collaborating with is a friend here in my neighborhood who owns a nonprofit called the Museum of Motherhood. And she is an amazingly cool individual. I actually did free hugs at her house during the open studio tour this year. So her and I have been talking a lot about collaborating and how we can support each other and accomplish the goals of the Hugmobile and the Museum of Motherhood. So stay tuned for more information on that. I just kind of put together, helped her put together kind of a one sheet to talk about our collaboration and the things that that our entities have in common. And so that's been really exciting. I have not done a lot of collaborating like that in my life. Usually when I start a new endeavor, I'm doing it by myself, and I'm including, like my women's networking company, I'm including a lot of people. But this is the first time where I've just very intentionally attempted to collaborate with someone. So I'm very excited about that. I want to do more of that. And I've also really been thinking about leadership lately. Like every time I take a personality test, it's like, you're a leader, you're like Barack Obama. And you know, when I had my women's networking business, I really was doing a lot of leading, and I haven't done that since then. And so I've just been thinking about those skills and talents of mine that perhaps are being wasted right now. And I should do like a leadership course, or like a friend of mine just went to this cool women's leadership thing in New York. So I'm going to look into opportunities like that, because I do think, especially nearing 50, I think that's what I should be doing with my skills. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Obviously the writing I've been doing has been really tapping into my creativity. So I've been enjoying that. And then I think I mentioned in my last video, I've been doing some collage assignments because I downloaded this, this workbook basically of collage assignments. And so, you know, I've been doing those occasionally. This is one of them. Oh, I don't know if you can see that. It looks blurry. It's probably because I have it on, yeah. Anyway, I have it on portrait mode so that what's behind me will be slightly fuzzy. Anyway, so I've been enjoying doing that occasionally, like once a week or whatever. So that's been really good. The other thing, the big project now I have for the next like month on top of everything else is it's Christmas card season. So every year I send out 80 to 100 Christmas cards. Some of them go to my clients, my web development clients. Some of them go to friends, and some of them go to family. And sometimes I put it out on social media that if someone wants to get a Christmas card from me, I will add them to my list that year, because some people don't. I used to send Paul Christmas and birthday cards, and he would tell me that they were the only ones that he got. So that was surprising, I guess. I'm just from a family that really likes to send cards to each other and get things in the mail. We're really old-fashioned like that. So yeah, I ask every year, and a couple people every year tell me they would love to get a Christmas card. And so anyway, I mentioned this in my last video. If you would like to get a Christmas card from me, you can either put it in the comments if you want your address out there, or you can follow me on Instagram and send a message to me there. My Instagram is Crazy Sexy Elsie. So I'm going to be putting it on Facebook again this year. So I pulled out my Christmas card supplies to see what I had. And I do the return labels as my business, because then it just works for everybody. It's got my address on it. And so I think I have enough of those, because I send so many. I don't want to manually write my return address on all of them. So then I take my contacts list, which is in Google, and I have people categorized. If they are on my Christmas card list, I add a tag, Christmas cards. Then I export the whole list as a CSV and print it out with everyone's name and address. And then I write in, you know, if I get new people, I write them in at the bottom. So I've got my list. I think it's like 110 people. And I don't, as I'm going through, sometimes I'll be like, okay, I'm not going to send that person one this year. But I usually add more on. So it'll probably end up being right around 100. And I have some people that are in other countries, so I have to buy special stamps for them. Oh yeah, I have to buy stamps. That's the one thing I didn't do. And so this year, it turns out one year I must have sat down and made a bunch of cards using old Christmas cards. So I'll take the front of the old Christmas card or part of the front and stick it onto a folded piece of construction paper. And then I have a stamp that says peace, love, joy. And I put that here. And then sometimes I put a little cat head down at the bottom. I do see that my glue seems to have done something over here, but it's fine. I'm not going to get rid of all these cards just because my glue went through. So I'm going to be sending out these handmade cards this year. This one has Santa eating a cookie. So I think I have enough, maybe, to send. So I usually start sending the handmade cards out to friends and family and not clients. So I do also have store-bought cards that I bought after Christmas one year on sale, because that's what I do. And I always get them that say season's greetings, because honestly, I don't really know what religion all my friends are, or all my acquaintances that I send cards to. I mean, once in a while a friend will tell me they're Jewish and I had no idea. Just like, okay, cool. So I just get the most neutral card that says season's greetings, so that I can send them to everyone, because there are lots of different holidays in December and I want to include everyone without knowing specifically what every single person is celebrating. And some people might be celebrating more than one holiday. So I don't want to have to get into that and have separate cards for each person. So I just do ones that say season's greetings. And hopefully that doesn't offend anyone. I know it doesn't offend any of my friends. They all know that I mean them well sentiments, you know, good sentiments, and that, yeah, I don't worry about that with my friends. So anyway, so I've got all these cards, and yeah, so like I said, it takes a long time because I have to go through the list. Like I said, I start with friends. What I usually do, I'm very like methodical. So I start making out the cards for the people farthest away that will take the longest to get there. So theoretically, that would be people in other countries. I don't have a ton of people in other countries still that I send to. I think I've only got like 2 or 3 at this point. I've got a friend in London. I think I'm still sending to my friend in Zurich. Oh, I have a friend in Spain. So I'll do those first. Then I'll work on like the people in Vermont, my friends and family in Vermont. And then the last ones I do are the ones in Florida in case it gets down to the limit, you know, and I'm worried about if they're going to get there in time. So that's a whole project that I'm going to be working on for the next month. But I feel like I'm starting earlier this year, so that's good. Sometimes, because the whole point is that I like to write something personal in each one, and tell the person how amazing I think they are. And so I want the time to do that and not feel rushed or like I'm writing the same thing in all of them. So I'm hoping that I've started early enough this year that I can really write some great stuff in them. Okay, voting. If you have not voted yet, please vote early and often. I'm kidding. Vote early if possible, because you never know what's going to come up on election day. Some of you have to work on election day. I know today is like the last weekend day before the election. So I always get a mail-in ballot and then I personally drop it off because I don't trust the mail. But that also allows me to work on election day, which I have in the past. There's I don't know what it's called. It's called election protection, and it's a volunteer opportunity that is nonpartisan, and you get a training for it, and you stand at the polls. There's like a distance you have to be back. Even though we're not electioneering, I'm not sure why we have to stand back that far, because we're not electioneering and we're nonpartisan, but whatever. Because it's really hard to get voters if you're 150 feet back and they parked up close and they don't ever walk by you. Anyway, so we answer questions for all voters, and we make sure, it's more important on election day, but make sure they're at the right polling place. Because here in Florida, before election day, the only place you can vote is the supervisor of elections office in that county. So, and there's more than one in each county, but so they're usually in the right place. And they might be told that they're not registered. If so, we will help look them up, make sure they are, see if they got a mail-in ballot, you know, all of that stuff. So we're there to help the voter, to make sure that every person who can legally vote is allowed to legally vote. So, yeah, so I really like that because it's nonpartisan, and we're helping democracy, you know, because if everyone can't vote, that's not a democracy anymore, right? So everyone who is legally allowed to vote should, you know, should vote and should be able to vote. So, so I did that yesterday from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. and it was very interesting. I mean, I've done it before, so I kind of know what to expect, but I haven't done it for early voting before. I think most people who early vote probably know what they're doing. Some people are just dropping off ballots, so they don't really need help. So it was pretty quiet, but I did get a few people who had genuine questions, and so that was great. I got to help them. And I'm going to do it today again from... That's my cat. I'm going to do it... Hey, Libby. I'm going to do it again today from 3 to 7 p.m. Our early polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then I'm going to also work on election day at one of the actual precincts, which around here, a lot of them are churches. So I'm going to be doing that on election day, I think from 11 to 3. I have to check. But it's really hot here still. So yesterday it was fine for like the first 3 hours. But the last hour was super hot. And I had like a really good, I was standing in like the best place, like closest to where I could see people as they arrived. And after the third hour, the sun was shining directly on me. So I actually motioned for this. There was one volunteer. There was some women there, but I didn't really trust them. So, and actually I thought that if I moved, they would steal my spot. So there was this other young guy who was there with one of the campaigns, and he was just holding up a sign. And I was like, hey, dude, come over here. And I think he was confused as to why I didn't just go over to him. So I'm like, no, you have to come here. So he came over to where I was, and I was like, hey, would you do me a huge favor? And he looked really trustworthy. He was just a young guy. And it turns out he's in law school. I was like, I had my keys. I'm like, would you go over to my car, which is right over there, and get my hat out of it and then just lock my car up and bring it back to me? And he did. It was so sweet. So I would have died there for an hour without that hat on. It was just like beating on my face. So that was really, really nice. I tagged that campaign online to thank him, but I don't know if they'll ever see it. So that was great. And then today I will definitely take well, what's nice about today is I'm there from 3 to 7. So the sun should actually be behind me and behind a building. So I think that's going to work out really great, but I'll take my hat anyway. And I don't know if I'm going to get that good spot again either. So we'll see. So that's great. It makes me feel like I'm doing something. I'm frustrated with politics in the world, and but if I feel like I can contribute something, then that makes me feel better. So that's what I've been doing right now. Oh, we've got a new bus here in St. Petersburg, and it's so interesting. Like, I've traveled to big cities and around. Oh, that's Libby's food. dispensing. I've traveled to big cities and around the world, and so I've used a lot of public transportation. I love public transportation. I am at heart a city girl. I love living in an urban area where I don't have to drive my car very much. So this new bus is a rapid bus. So it follows the same route as another bus here, but it doesn't stop as often. So you get there much quicker. Well, it just happens that the bus stops very near where I live, like maybe three blocks from my place. So I can go down there and get on it, and then it will take me, so I used it yesterday to go get ice cream because it stops near this ice cream place that I go. And I mean, there's good and bad. I love that. I could have walked down though, and it would have been more exercise. So hopefully it's not going to hurt me more than it helps me, but it's really convenient to take it downtown because I don't drive my car downtown. There's nowhere to park. So that's been really nice. It also drops off near my pharmacy. So I took it one day and a post office. It stops at my post office and a different post office. I can check my mail at my post office, but if I just need to mail something, I can go to this other post office that's closer to me. So anyway, right now, this new bus is free for the first 6 months. So I'm just like hopping on, hopping off. There's been a lot of people on it. You know, there's always the people who are like, I'm not going to get on a bus. Buses are nasty. I'm like, oh my God. Even our other bus, our older bus, is not nasty. I've taken it a bunch of times. It's called the Central Avenue Trolley. It goes up and down Central Avenue. You can ride it for pretty cheap. So like, I can use this new bus even when it's paying. I will sometimes hire a Lyft to take me downtown for like 12 bucks, but for $2.50, I can take this new bus downtown and hang out, and it runs until midnight, which I'm getting old. I'm usually not out after midnight, so it'll drop me off 3 blocks from my place. So I'm very excited about it, and I'm trying to use it a lot, and I do think it's going to get used a lot. So, yeah, and you can even take your bicycle onto it and into it. There's 3 of these cool bike racks where you put your front tire in and then it raises your bike up vertically. So that's really cool. My bike, you don't have to do that because it folds up. So I would just, you know, take it on. But if I took the new bus to the beach, I could have my bike with me and ride around. And yeah, it's just great. I'm happy. Florida is not great on public transportation. So anything they do here that involves public transportation, I'm psyched about. You know, I do feel like they should accompany all of these things with massive marketing campaigns to make it seem cooler to ride the bus, which I do think it's cool to ride the bus. Anyway, so that's just something else that's going on around here. I've talked a lot about compassion on this this channel, whatever you want to call it. I definitely think it's something we need to continue to keep in mind, especially during and after the elections. First and foremost, we have to have compassion for ourselves, and just, you know, for me and many activists, it's like we feel like we can never do enough, and things don't get better and we blame ourselves, but we can't do that. We have to have compassion for ourselves and know that we're doing as much as we can and the best that we can. And we have to, at some point, have faith in our fellow man and woman that they're going to eventually come around. But we have to be the example. We don't have to be. I mean, I want to be. All the things I do for the planet and democracy and all that stuff, I do because I want to. And so, and I think one thing too that is very apparent to me, especially yesterday when I was working the polls, people can say that their idea of the world is the best one, but if all those people are really unhappy, just miserable people, that's something to look at. Like, this is the way you see the world and you're miserable all the time. This is the way I see the world and I'm happy most of the time. So to me, that's a huge difference between the two sides, if you will, of the world right now, is that the people I see promoting these ideas for especially America that are terrible are very unhappy people. And you have to ask yourself, why? Why are you such an unhappy, miserable person if you think this is the way the world should be? If you think your idea is the best? But I'm looking at you and I'm thinking to myself, apparently if I follow your ideas, I will be fucking miserable too. So I don't want to be fucking miserable. I want to be happy, and I want to do the things that are the best for the most. Okay, so I feel like my side is not perfect, but I do feel like they want the best for the most. And I want them to do better, like way better. But I know that at their core, they are more capable of doing the best for the most than the other people who seem very miserable. So anyway, that's my only very vague, political talk that I'll give. But back to compassion, I have compassion for people who are miserable all the time. Who would want to be miserable all the time, right? So I have compassion for that. I'd like to know why they're miserable all the time and help them not be miserable all the time, because nobody wants that. I might be frustrated with some of the things happening in the world, but I do believe that most people are good and that they are capable of being good to each other, so yeah. And so even when you are compassionate for someone or have compassion for someone, it doesn't mean that you want what they are offering in your life, right? You don't have to be in someone's life just because you can feel compassion for what they're going through, right? Because that isn't your responsibility. You can, again, be a good example for them and try to help them see, realize how they're seeing the world and how maybe it's not the best way. But if someone is just miserable, you don't have to have them in your life, or you don't have to be treated badly by anyone just because you have empathy for them or compassion for them. Because people are responsible for their own behavior, right? And you can let people grow and then reconsider, but it's not your responsibility to deal with people's bad behavior, even if the bad behavior comes from a place of pain, right? Anyway, so compassion, yes, always. It will never stop being important to have compassion for yourself, give yourself a break, give other people a break, but also you don't have to be miserable just because other people are. So yeah, so everything is actually going really, really well with me. I have nothing to complain about. I'm a person who's prone to anxiety, but I wake up every day and I tell myself nothing is on fire. Is anything on fire? I mean, eventually something might literally be on fire, but is it right now? No, it's not. And so I have to get up and function and be grateful, because I have so many things to be grateful for. Just where I live and how I live and the amazing people in my life, the opportunities that I have. And some of that stuff is luck, but some of that stuff is luck that I created, or things that I created because of the way I want to live my life. So I'm grateful not only for the randomness of the universe that brings certain things to me, but I'm also grateful that I'm the kind of person who doesn't want to be miserable, who at one point in my life decided I don't want to be unhappy. I'm going to figure out why I'm unhappy and how to be happy. And that decision alone brought so many good things into my life. And so I'm super grateful for that. I sort of know where I want my life to go. And so every day I take steps to go in that direction. You know, it doesn't always look pretty, but focusing on the specific things that I want in my life, and how I want my life to feel. I think that's a big thing too. So just in the conversation I had with my friend the other day that I'm going to collaborate with, just telling her, you know, my 40s had a lot of lost time because I had migraines, chronic migraines. And so my 50s, I have just such grand plans, and none of them might come true. You know, I don't know what's really going to happen, but I do want to make up for lost travel and just lost adventures that I didn't get to have in my 40s. So she was very excited for me and said that she knew my 50s were going to be amazing. She could just tell. So that's what I'm shooting for, right? And I think that's a pretty good goal. So I hope you all have some great goals for your Sunday, whether it's relaxing or going on an adventure. And please vote if you haven't voted. It's not my business who you vote for, but voting is, you know, what makes our democracy a democracy. Voting and fair elections, okay? So you should always fight for fair elections. If we don't have fair elections, then we're not a democracy. And anyone who doesn't want our elections to be fair does not believe in democracy. So on that note, I love you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you maybe next week.